So I've got a bit of a unique problem here, and I don't know what the solution is, but there is a bird inside the house. I don't know how it got in here. I don't know how to get rid of the dumb thing. I guess I have a new pet. I could really use the cat right about now, but he moved out with the roommate. So I'm gonna start replacing the joists above the ceiling, but the first thing I need to do is clear off everything on these shelves in this whole corner, and then I can start opening those things up, opening up the ceiling. All right, so I got myself a nice little pile of rubble again. So the joist that was here in the middle was fairly strong. It had some light termite damage, but not a lot. And basically you can see these wires here. They're running through the joist just like over here. And while I sawed up to it on each side and then used the hammer to hopefully split the wood. And in doing so, I broke the insulation on that wire, which apparently runs a portion of the kitchen and all of the living room as well, or at least this outlet on the living room. So I had to turn off power. I cut that. Obviously it's not terminated, but the two wires are separated from each other. And power's back on. Everything else went pretty smoothly. So I need to clean up the mess, and then I can actually start placing a joist in place. I also need to rip this out at the top of the stair. It's all pretty poor shape. But yeah, looks kind of weird, big hole. So it turns out this line runs, like I said, that outlet down there, but also that AC unit, because the outlet, it runs the AC unit or it runs everything in that bedroom up there and everything in my bedroom, which means there are 2 more AC units that were down, and that is enough to make this house miserable. So I did this temporary fix. Don't do this. I gotta come up with a more long-term solution. In the meantime, I can put this new joist in, and I can work on tearing out the remaining of this old one so I can get new ones in. So this is one of the new joists. I wasn't sure when I was buying. I didn't write it down, but I wasn't sure if I needed 12 foot or 14 foot. So I went long, got 14 foot, and it's too long. So I just need to measure from the inside of the pocket up there to the other side of here, and then cut this to that length. All right, so the first one is in. I got it set it in place, looked down it, and the crown was going the wrong way. If you got any kind of bow, you want it to go this way, not that way. So I just had to flip it over, no big deal. Flip nice and easy. So now basically I need to carve out the rest of these 2 joists here that are completely eaten up. That one goes to the front of the house, so leave that. But the 2 behind it gotta go. And then I can put 2 new ones in. And then I may be able to frame in this stuff over here as well, which will then allow me to get a subfloor in. All right, so I just put a single screw going down that way into the top plate that's above the beam. And that should hold it in place so it doesn't walk back and forth. So now I can start cutting all this out. All right, so the first one is resting in place. You can see better now that the pocket is twice as wide as the other one. So I just need to get the other one. This is 144 3/4 inches. And it just barely sneaks past the beam. So that should work out well. So time to get the other one. All right, so the second one went in nice and quick. It's pretty close to the same length as the first one. The important thing is it's sticking over the beam a little bit. So now I just need to figure out what to do with this gap. I have enough of these scrap pieces that I can fill in some of it, but I don't have smaller stuff. It may be worth it. I don't know, but I gotta figure out something to do with that. But in the meantime, I need to secure these 2 to each other. I think I only got 2 screws left. And the next step is to figure out all that. Although I have 1 more of these, and if we look way over there, I guess we'll walk over there. This one needs to be replaced because of a combination of termite and water damage. And it goes underneath the door. And I don't want to tear the door out just yet because it keeps this room fairly cool when you close it, or not cool, but it keeps the heat in this room versus letting it go down to the rest of the house. So I don't really want to pull that door, but I kind of have to. Maybe I pull the door, swap out the beam, and then maybe get some plastic and cover that. I don't know. But I also don't want to cut up a 14 to fill in all these little things. I think I'm better off just getting a couple of 8s, using the scraps I already have to replace this stuff in the side here that needs to be replaced. That seems like the logical thing to do. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna screw these together and then figure out what I want to do next. This part did go quicker than I planned. But I mean, as y'all can see, I'm just winging it. I have a general idea what I want the end results to be. There was some discussion when I first tore these rooms apart about whether I should put a moisture barrier between the joists and the blocks when I slide them back into their pockets. And ultimately, I'm going with no, and that's what Bob the Builder said as well, is no. Pretty much because these things have been here for 70 years already, and they're fine. There's no sign that moisture is coming through the block into the wood. So I think I'm just going to leave that how it is. Some people suggested felt paper. Some people suggested the synthetic barrier you might put on a roof, or an underlayment for a floor, something like that. But I don't know. I mean, 70 years should be enough to prove that it works, right? So I think I'm going to roll with that. Leave your thoughts below. Maybe you have experience that says otherwise, but the house kind of says it's fine. So let's move on to the next step, I guess. So I'm at the point where I got to decide if I'm going to cut down my long one to make it fit. Basically, there's 2 pieces here, and as you can see, they were a little bit taller than 2x8 to fit in here. This needs to get replaced as well. So they tuck back in. It tucked back in about that far, and then they were attached to this stud, which goes all the way up to the vent, and I believe goes all the way to the basement, the bottom of the basement. So I basically need 2 there, and then I need a joist that'll connect here and go to the outside wall, and one that'll connect somewhere here and go to the outside wall. Or what I've thought about is putting 2 here to go to the outside wall. There's a pocket for 2. And then instead of running another one here, and then having to notch the hell out of it to make the toilet and bathtub drains fit, I could run from there over this way into the sides of these. And then basically I'm left with not really having to cut much of anything except for there. Everything else would be on in between the joists. That seems like the logical thing to do, the smart thing to do. In which case I'll need like 2 8-footers and then something to just make my pieces up here and the little pieces that run side to side. I think that's what I want to do, but I gotta sort this out first, figure out exactly what to do here. This stud goes all the way down to the floor so it can take some of this weight. Doesn't need to take a lot though, because this will be tied into here. So I went ahead and pulled that 2x4, and we can see that there's some termite damage on here, but that one ends up there. And from what I can tell, based on what I've taken apart, they don't turn part way and change directions part way through a stud or a joist or something like that. They go to the end and then they turn. And so I don't think, I mean, and plus you can see the framing from the old cabinet there. There's no termite damage on that. So I think it's okay. I'm just gonna leave this here. And then after I put a new bottom plate in, I think I'll just put a block of wood here and going down to the bottom just to kind of sister it in a little bit. And I think it'll be fine. I don't think I need to replace that whole 2x4 at all. So let's take a little bit of a look at this wiring here. We've got this one coming out here. It comes back in, and then it goes down to, I believe, that light fixture there, not the long fluorescent one. And it comes back up, it scoots along, and then over here, it does the same thing, which is why I believe it goes to the lower light fixture, not the upper one, because there's another matching one over here. Then it comes along this way, and then it hooks a hard left, and it goes that way. And you may have noticed a couple weeks ago when I did that wall over there, there was an outlet at the bottom of the wall that is now buried inside the wall. I fully intended to pull it out, but my guess is that goes to that outlet, and if it's buried, it's not really needed, the location and everything. I think I can just disconnect this at the joint, or disconnect it over there. My guess is it comes off of that outlet right down there. I could probably disconnect it from the output of that outlet, and then that whole line will be dead back to there. If I remember right, it didn't affect the rest of the kitchen. So that eliminates that problem there. And I don't have to try and rerun all that. This one that comes out here and then dips along and goes here, it comes and it goes straight down, and my guess is it goes to the long fluorescent light. And so I can leave it for now and it'll be okay. And then when it comes time to replace that light, I could probably just disconnect at that switch there and then be able to pull the rest of this out of here and it'd be done with. So cleaning up this mess here actually doesn't look all that difficult. This little bit of loop of wire that comes out down here and kind of goes up there, it's really hard to see, sorry. You can probably make it out better. Comes out from the wall there, it runs up to that box, and then it runs back down. That's where I cut it. That's the other spot I cut it. That's where I broke it. Comes through the joist, and then it comes up and into this box. This goes up to a light that doesn't work, never worked, or at least didn't work when I moved in, and didn't have power there. Interesting, so it's probably actually disconnected in the box. But this one runs down into the rest of everything that's on that circuit. So that'd be the kitchen, this bedroom, all that kind of stuff. So I think what I can do, and I have the wire to do this, is to remove this whole section and instead make it run up, over, and down into the box. And the box kind of has to go a little bit because I need to take all of this stuff out. I need to take all that support out. So the box has to go anyway, or at least move. So while that's disconnected, I can move all that, do what I need to do. I need to support the air duct, but I can remove all that, and that makes it easier to remove the door so that I can then remove this bad joist. And with the bad joists and those ones replaced, that gets this up here in good enough condition that I can start working on the subfloor. So I can pull up that. I need to cut along the wall and pull up the rest of all that. Since I'm working in this area, I might as well do that. Hallway section. But basically, I'm gonna put a sound barrier underneath the subfloor so I can lay the sound barrier in place, put the subfloor on top, and then actually start framing this out and make it start looking like an actual project that's going somewhere. And as I was just talking about a subfloor, I just had my dumb I figured it out moment. The reason there's a gap between the bottom plate and the joist is because of the subfloor sticking in. So I think I'm gonna put those blocks in tomorrow so I can get this other joist in, And then I'm not going to do the bottom plate until I get a subfloor in, and then I can put the bottom plate back in under there, and that'll be all normal again. And while we're looking at it, if we get close and we kind of look at this one that's questionable at the bottom, there doesn't appear to be any sign of termites through it at all, not even at the top one. So I think it's okay, even though there's a little bit of eating at the bottom of that. I think it's okay to leave that. I think it'll be fine. Just put a little sister next to it and call it good. So I was just kind of standing here looking at things, and I decided I wanted to see what the rest of that stack looks like, because there's a little bit of rust and corrosion and stuff in it. And so I decided to pull the paneling off, and there's a second layer, different color. It's even more hideous than the first layer, if that's possible. I didn't know that was possible. I always thought there was just one specific hideousness of fake wood paneling, but it turns out there's a variety. So this joist here, you can see I cut it to length, but I cut it at an angle. That's because the pocket on this one is shallower on the top than it is on the bottom. So you need that angle for it to fit in there properly. So the angled end goes there, other end goes here. I'm gonna prop it up, mark it, and then I'm gonna put a joist hanger bracket in place and then set it into that. So that's pretty much that. I still need to add one more here, but I need to get a blade so I can cut cast iron. And then I want to knock that, there's a little tiny piece of wood up there, little 1 by something. I need to knock that off so I can put the 2 by directly against it. And then when it comes time to run a drain tub, I can just drill wherever it is I need to drill and I'll be okay. I decided to do this piece here because there's nowhere to put it here. This sticks out in the back again. That's basically the mirror cabinet in the pink bathroom. So that really just gives me like 2 inches to try and grab onto one of those studs. So I decided it was better to here. I didn't do another hanger there because, well, I just didn't buy enough and I just kind of made this plan on the fly. But that's this. I just need to zap some screws or nails into here to pinch those two together a little bit. And I'm pretty much ready for a subfloor up there. Well, no, I gotta do that one joist that runs across here. So this is what we got up here. If we take a look at there, the toilet is probably gonna have to get bumped over a couple inches because of the wall being extended out and running out of space between the toilet and the bathtub. Because basically I'm gonna frame a 2x4 wall up against here. That way I can add insulation. So that'll bring basically everything out this way 3.5 inches. So that's just kind of a temporary, I mean, that's the old one, but that gives me a rough idea where the toilet's supposed to go. Worst case is I have to notch that piece out a little bit, but it shouldn't be too bad. But yeah, this is in. I just need to swap out that wire. All right, so it's the next weekend, and it's time to replace the bad joist. It's gonna be hard to get to. So that's this one here. And I thought about it quite a bit, and I could cut out a section of the drywall, but then I have these weird squares over here that need to be redone. And then if I cut it here, I gotta try and make it match up with this. Whereas if I just fuck it and I go all the way over here and follow, there's a joist there, and follow all the way across the gap, then if I have any weird seams when I'm done, they'll just be right here. So as I was trimming the drywall there, I hit the power line that runs basically from this light up over. It goes over a few more bays and then over to that wall. The stove is turned off. The microwave has turned off. So I'm pretty sure it's, but the AC on the other side stayed on. So I'm pretty sure that line is just the back wall of the kitchen. And I'm sure the fridge is off right now too. But the saw turned off as well, and it's plugged in here, so it confirms my belief that this comes from here, goes up, it's that line, and then it hits there, goes up and over there, and carries on. So the line I cut right there, and it immediately on the other side of that joist comes down and runs this way. So there's a seam here in the subfloor. The subfloor's got to go anyway. So I decided what I'm going to do is finish pulling the subfloor in this room, which will be kind of a pain because of the drywall. But I'm going to finish pulling the subfloor, and then I'll figure out exactly where that line goes and the best way to tap into it on this end. All right, so I have those sections of the subfloor out. Really fortunate that I didn't find anything too surprising. The line we're following comes down and then down inside that stud bay. I think that runs to the outlet that's over the counter in the corner of the kitchen. So All right, so I kept digging off camera and I figured this out. So this line, which is currently not live because I broke it today, goes down into the kitchen outlet in the corner. So that's exactly what I thought. The other line that I broke last week or earlier in this video that starts there, it comes around up to this outlet, then it drops down and it comes up and it goes to my bedroom light switch, which is right here. And then this runs up to the light. This comes down around through and into the light switch for this bedroom. And then it runs down over to there, splits off, hits some outlets over here, and also runs down, comes over, check that. But here's my idea right now is, so I need to run new power for all of these rooms as it is. So it might make sense to just go ahead, since I got that exposed, to just go ahead and run the new power to those two switches. They'll be the starts of both of these rooms. Then I can go ahead and run new power to the bathroom, and then run a dedicated line over to the kitchen. And then we got 3 brand new circuits. They're all nice and new and safe. I'm pretty... All right, so fortunately nothing crazy that I found here. Big fat intake vent for the HVAC or furnace. That's just kind of sucking in from the walls. So that's kind of useless. All right, so I have a temporary fix in there right now. That's for tonight. In the morning, I'm going to do the electrical work. Basically get a line, 2 lines there, 1 for each side of the wall, get a line to next to the bathroom door, and get a line down to the kitchen and the living room. I'm gonna do this in the morning, at least do the swap over on those 2 in the morning, because last week when I broke that line and I was able to see it arcing from hot to neutral, it didn't pop the breaker, even though I could actually see the arc. And I don't know if that's a bad breaker. I don't know what the deal was with that, but I turned off the main breaker for the whole house, and that's why the video went dark for a bit. And in that 1 hour in that afternoon, this house got so freaking hot. It took almost 24 hours or over 24 hours for the AC systems, all the little window units, to actually catch back up where they were. It got so freaking hot so fast. Now, it'll be cooler tomorrow, so it won't be as big of a deal, but I'll do it in the morning so that when these things are off, it's not killing me. So that's the first thing, the goal, first thing in the morning. Get those 2 swapped over. And get something new in the kitchen. And then everything else will be kind of easy from there. And then I got to do the dining room, and I'm spacing, the living room. So getting the wire from the beam down to here requires a little bit of work, but I was able to drill a pretty big hole there that goes down into the basement and into the bay I need. And you can, I don't know, you can't really see the light coming through, but it basically comes in right down here in that area. Ooh, you can kind of see it right there. So it comes down into this bay, so I can come over and then shoot down that way. And that'll be the shortest run I can make out of this, and probably the cleanest run. So now I just need to get the wires to this side of the beam. I can pull these off and run it basically near the gas pipe. And I may actually lower that 2x4 at the top of the beam down a little bit so I can sneak the wires on top. That actually seems like a decent idea. And then I need to get the wires from that hole over to in here, which shouldn't be too bad. Couple holes here, couple holes here, and then it can snake into there and go off where it needs to go. All right, so the 2x4 is down below. I only have 5 screws in there because, well, I was low on screws when I hung it. But also, it's not a load-bearing 2x4. Its sole purpose in life is to space that wall out so the drywall clears the gas pipe. And now it also allows me to run the electrical up through that opening, up over the thing and along here, so I can get underneath to the 2 rooms, as well as get over here to the kitchen and the living room and whatnot. So this is where it comes out. This is the old light switch, which goes over there, but this is where it comes out. It runs down. I just kind of ran it out here so I have a general idea if I have enough length. Might be short a few feet, might be long a few feet, but I'm generally in the ballpark right here. So the next step is to actually run it properly through all this stuff and see how close I got. So the only 12 gauge they had longer than 100 feet was a single 250 foot roll. Fortunately, that should be enough to get everything done that I want to do today. But I was hoping they had a 500 or 1,000 and then I wouldn't have to worry about it for a long time. But So I'm gonna do the same exact run, basically from here, except I'll go through that hole there, go to the same breaker box, and I'll use the breaker at the bottom right of the panel, the one that I added that isn't being used. I added it when swapping out that breaker for the IT room. So I'll go ahead and do that. We'll swap that over, take out that little jumper that goes from box to box. And then I can go back and remove some of this. And the next step will be diagnosing what to do about the lights, figuring that out. It's a dumb thing. This one may be as easy as just moving that one down to the new run up to the bathroom. It's kind of a logical thing to do. The other one's going to be harder because it's just harder to get to. But I don't know. We'll figure that out. All right, so that's on. Lights working. AC's on. So we're good to go. This is the old line that was running up. The little jumper is gone. So I can cut this out and I can work my way down. I need to see where that one goes. Maybe a project for next week is to go ahead and just move the outlets facing that way onto my room and the outlets facing this way. Actually, I could just eliminate those if I can grab onto the kitchen and run those over somewhere and meet somewhere else. So let's move on to running a line for the kitchen. Hey, so here we are. We got this hanging out here. That's the fresh run from there. No, it is not going to stay like that. Tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and get one of those little J boxes that just kind of mount in the drywall, and I'll just mount it into that section right there, put a blank plate over it. It'll be silly. Pretty much any time you come across something like that and it's just a blank plate, that's exactly what's going on. There's just some wires meeting somewhere in a wall, and you have to have access to it without having to take apart the wall. So that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. In the meantime, I still have another one to run. So we have a fresh one for the kitchen, which that's not working, and that's not working. Got a fresh one for the kitchen, a fresh one for bedroom 3, which is the one that's all torn apart. Bedroom 4, which is my bedroom. And now I just need to drop one more over here for the dining room, and it also runs that light down here when you first go down the stairs, as well as possibly that light, although I need to do something about that one and the other hallway one. All right, so Sunday, normally I'd call anything I'm doing at the end of the day on Sunday. That would be the cutoff for the video, but it's a 3-day weekend, so I got plenty of time to work tomorrow. So everything I do tomorrow will go into this video, and then the next week the next video will be a day shorter than normal. But I feel like I hit a pretty big milestone. We got 5 rooms that have new 20 amp circuits going to them. All I have to do tomorrow is actually connect some of these. This one, the bathroom one, they're not connected right now, and I need to reconfigure some stuff up here that's not easy to do. Reconfigure some stuff up there, and that'll actually get most of the kitchen on its own circuit instead of sharing circuits with other rooms. And it's relatively easy to do from up above. And obviously I gotta replace that joist. So that's my goal for tomorrow. By the end of this video, we'll see if I hit it. Hopefully I do. All right, so that was kind of working, but super duper duper slow speed. So what I'm gonna do instead is open up this section up here, just that square, and then I could be able to actually hit it with the hammer. All right, so I did the same thing here. Bunch of lines so I can see if it's moving, because I just checked it and didn't move as much as I thought. And then the other thing I did was I added a couple screws in here so that I can hold this thing from the bottom and my hand isn't up in the bay and it's pretty much out of the way of the hammer itself as I'm swinging it. And we can see after several hits, I've got some movement. I've got maybe an inch and a half or so into the pocket. I'm gonna check the other end, make sure everything's going good over there. Just what I thought, I'm hitting that concrete up there in the corner, which means that's in as far as it's gonna go. So I can go ahead and take the ratchet strap off and we are done installing this thing. If I had a subfloor, I'd go ahead and screw in from the top, but we'll wait till we get a subfloor before we do that. Now I can move on to electrical again. All right, so that's all installed. Basically, we got power coming up the bedroom 4 breaker up to this switch. The original wiring, I keep on wanting to call it factory wiring because I'm used to working on cars, but the original wiring that runs up to the light fixture itself. And then we come out, we come through the original hole there, come down to that box, and we got 2 outlets in that room now that are grounded. I think some of the other outlets come up from the living room so that I get sorted later on down the line. This bedroom comes up to the switch, and basically that's all it's running right now. But when as I go through this room, I'll add outlets. Like I said, I got to rip that one out. I'll add outlets, everything just jump off of that switch for this room.